Ivar Bjørnson from Enslaved. Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk from
Cool. Good to
from
be here.
this boat that you're on.
Yeah, it's the Pride of Bergen. The ship starts on Lemku.
Okay.
It's a fantastic vessel. So I've been invited to be a guest there today. They're sailing all the way around Norway, and now they're passing through um, where I live.
Okay.
So I got to spend a day here.
That
Great.
is that is awesome. That's and is it a working ship? What does it just what does it do?
Yeah, it's a working ship. Absolutely, it travels all over the world. After this Norwegian coast, I think they're going on a world tour, so to speak.
Okay.
Uh, and yeah,
Glad
they
someone
have
is. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And they're training young people. They're having people training to be in the naval occupation there, but also culture, and they're carrying casks of rum and stuff like that across the equator, Norwegian. Right?
Mhm.
And today it's a thing that's it's all this voyage they're doing in Norway is part of a collaboration with Norwegian television. So that's why I'm here today. I did an appearance with the Norwegian shanty choir.
Oh,
Yeah, some
that's
metal guitars with shanty. That worked out perfectly.
I you know what? I believe you 100%. I
It's
expect that. Yeah.
it's all about booze and women. So very 80s metal. I would say.
Yes. Perfect. Perfect. Very good. Uh wow. Congratulations on the cinematic tour box set, varying editions. They are lovely. I got the CD DVD version. So
Thanks very much.
cheers, kudos on that. Um I wanted to talk to you about the production specifically because sort of in sound and in video quality, right from the rise of Ymir forward, you guys put on a pretty professional show. Now there are all kinds of streams at different varying production levels. Can you tell me about putting together the first and then on from there once you kind of realized it worked?
Yeah, the first one was we were invited. This was actually the week after they closed down Norway. Um, yeah, the end of that week. So only like 10 days after the shutdown, we got a phone call from this Bergen festival called that's the online festival,
Mhm.
which is running for 12 days. The concept was to have a different headliner every day, just one band per day. That's how they wanted to do it, so they could have a professional setup um, and really do something that was good and professional. I think it was one of the first online things that happened in that period. And so we went there and did that. Didn't know what to expect, but we really enjoyed. It kind of fit with our vibe, even though we were really missing the interaction with the audience. You can't really, nothing's going to replace that. That's never going to happen. But it was the best substitute we could find, we believe. And the response afterwards made us realize that this was something that was happening in real time. People were connecting. It was just, not that it was an indirect um, reproduction of that exchange of energy. It was just happening in a strange new way. From all over the world, we got these wonderful texts and mails and posts on social media that people felt this, like they were coming into both a sort of a bubble of normality, because
Mhm.
that's how we, and then that's how we live and exist. This is in this world of music, but also it felt like it was upholding the community, the sense of community, and even maybe strengthening it, because it really highlighted the difference between the world as it became then and what we want the world to be, so to speak. So we decided the morning after, like, this is what we're going to dedicate this year to. Resources, time, whatever, we have to do more of this. And then we came up with this plan to do this cinematic tour in collaboration with these festivals. but that also informed us this first one. We have to keep at that level. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it kind of took away the it didn't work as a substitute for work in the income sense, because it was all basically spent on the production.
Right.
But I'm really glad we made that decision. So we went back to that festival, to the people who were working there for the video, and yeah, got in touch with them, and they helped us out with the next few shows. So there was professional film production people involved in all of them, and we're lucky to have a team around the band, but also in the band. You know, our drummer Ivar is a professional record producer, has his own studio and all that. So he's done, together with our live sound man, done all the wizardry with the sound. It's all live recorded, but it's been, you know, when it's mixed afterwards, it's sure. Really pumped up a notch. I don't think we would be able to do that without having him on the team, to be honest.
That was actually my next question, was how involved Ivar was in getting the sound.
Yeah, he's really involved.
Yeah. I mean, you can hear it's mixed. Obviously, you can hear it's very full sounding across the multiple sets, and I think that brings a kind of consistency to it as well. You know, it works.
And that was important.
Yeah. The Chronicles of the Northbound, you know, that fan requested set, as a songwriter, were you sort of, you know, you guys mentioned, you sort of touched on this in social media and stuff, being surprised at how much of the material requested was newer.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how that makes you feel as a songwriter, right? That someone, you know, that your fan base is sort of contrary, or at least in part, to the metal norm, is not like, fuck it, play the first record, you know, like, to have people feeling passionate about about the progression of the band, about what you're doing now.
Yeah, exactly. That was such an uplifting message to get, because, you know, we were prepared. We were really going full in, like, whatever people want. If they want, like, if there's only songs from 92 to 97 on that request list, we're going to do it. Ivar was prepared to die to go through that. No problem. And then we were very pleasantly surprised, both by that and the amount of votes was just also fantastic. And that taught me another thing, that it might not even be the metal standard. It might be what you hear as the metal standard, but that is in many walks of life. And it's sort of like, you get a feeling sometimes that it's lobbyists, you know, who are, because those are typically people who are focused on one thing.
Right.
And then they spend a lot of energy on that. And that's what you see. And then you get the impression that this is sort of, quote unquote, the will of the people. But like all these other people who are as much a part of the society, they have everything else going on. So they don't have time to go on board message boards or whatever and yell, play the first album, as much as those who are focused on that. You know, that's like their occupation. So it was really an eye-opener, I think, not only for us in terms of, it was sort of a confirmation what we have been feeling, what we've been seeing over the few years. It can't be all like new people just popping by and liking, you know, the production of the last album. These are like the people listening to Enslaved. And I was really grateful for that. And also, I have to say, when it comes to older material, I was really hoping for 793 to make it through on that voting, and it did. I really, really wanted to play that song for the audience because people have been asking for it, and we tend to like not pick it in a live set because it takes so many song spaces.
Yes, takes up so much time. Yes,
and I really wanted to do it with the new lineup. And it was really, really fantastic.
Man, you're anticipating all my questions. I wanted to talk about Below the Lights, playing Below the Lights with a revamped band with Håkon and Ivar in the band. I mean, hearing that for you, does it feel not unfamiliar, but can you talk about how that might feel different, how it is for you to hear that reinterpreted now?
That was really a fantastic experience. And yeah, even though I strongly believe that we're never going to re-record anything in the studio, the old stuff, because they all have their zeitgeist, whatever you want to call it, these albums. And if you want to call them imperfections or whatever, that doesn't really matter, because it makes up in the old recordings, it makes up for it in spirit and the spirit of the times, the spirit that we were in at that time, and so on. But Below the Lights it was just to do it with the 5-piece instead of a 3-piece as we originally did it when we were playing the songs live.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a different world, and having the album matured for this many years, and then go into the songs and sort of re-rehearse it and everything was that was very touching, I have to say, because that was an album that I felt that it was the best we could do at the time, but also it felt like now some of it was vindicated, some of the ideas were vindicated, because we're maybe at a better level when it comes to being musicians at this time and so on. Fun fact is that Ivar was actually in the studio tuning the drums. We paid him to tune the drums for that album originally.
I read that. Yes, that's right.
That was great. And Inge, the 6th member on that live recording,
mm-hmm.
and that concert, he was playing on the album also. So that was just everything just came together. It's a weird sense because it's such a long time ago that you don't really have that feeling lingering from the recording anymore.
Right.
And that's magic stuff that we're in now in being 30 years.
Oh no, your audio has cut out.
Uh-oh.
Hang on.
See if it gets better. Give it 2 seconds and we'll see.
Yeah. Just take a second. I'm sorry.
No worries.
It's sailing ship reception. So I appreciate it.
Classic.
Yeah. Yes.
Classic. Just move to good second.
Oh. I feel like we're getting a tour of the ship now, so it's good. All right.
Oh man, somebody's working with you tonight. Going back.
Oh my goodness! Look at that. That is a sailing ship. Man.
It should be good reception up here, but the danger is that you're going to hear a loud bell sometimes. You can survive that.
We'll see how it goes. All right. You were saying the sort of comparative, being able to sort of look back on things without the direct
exactly
effect of having been there, an advantage of being a band for 30 years. Please.
Exactly. So you're approaching some kind of objectivity, is my theory, where you can actually regard things you've done in the music you made yourself without it coming from the inside as a musician and a writer. You can actually experience it almost like an outside listener, and that was really a powerful part of that experience.
So does playing it live ish with the or I guess you played it live anyway and recording it with the new band, does that put you back in to that level of association? Do you sort of re-own the music at that point?
Yes, that happens when you're playing the songs. It's sort of that's when stuff starts getting David Lynchy, when like time connects in like different directions and it just melts together.
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like you that you're back in the same space, but it's not 2003 necessarily. It's the same place outside, I guess, what you experience when you that's what we try to achieve with writing music, is to go to some place and then you play now and then you reconnect. It's a pretty wonderful thing.
I'm interested to get your opinion on how sort of the pandemic era has affected your engagement with the audience. You mentioned before having that instant feedback sort of worldwide, but not in a live setting kind of way. And as you guys were leading up to the release of the box set, you and Grutel both did kind of little short videos, kind of plugging different parts of the release and that kind of thing. Has not being able to see people in person affected how you think about engaging the audience, how and how involved you are in that kind of communication?
Yeah, I actually think it's is it a saying that says like there's something about distance and the heart growing fonder or something. So it's kind of like that, I think, because it really made it clear that how important this is both for us and also for people engaged in the band, in our development, in our history. So yeah, it's really added to the gratefulness that we feel towards the community that's developed around the band. We're missing meeting people, and really, yeah, I think it's brought us closer. Weirdly enough, maybe that's weird. I don't know if it's weird, but it definitely, that's the result of it. And I think people have also seen that for us, it's more than the show side of things, of going around and doing spectacular stuff. It is about the art, it's about the music, and about and that's only halfway fulfilled from our side. It needs to interact. It needs to reach not only the ears, but the people, the personalities that live with this music. And I think that's made it that more clear for us.
You have,
and also the thing.
No, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to add.
Please.
Also want to add that, like, it really also proved for us that people chose to engage in this. And it's one thing to say, okay, there's not much happening. That, I think that would be sort of a cynical view, but I don't feel like that at all. It's more like, I know how this time has made it hard for people to get engaged in topics and the things happening. It's very easy to become numb from all this sort of this connectivity that this pandemic has brought about, and that people choose to spend that energy on supporting the band and being active in expressing it is a very strong statement. I'm very grateful for that.
It's a beautiful kind of idea, right? To see that, varying communities coming together across different platforms because one avenue has closed and they're sort of finding another. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Of all the records you've done, Utgard, I guess, is the first that you haven't been able to tour, I'm assuming. Yes. At least in the normal way. First of all, that's a kick in the pants, because that's a good record. Second, does that change your relationship to the album at this point?
No, we're still in the phase where it's about to happen. Again, I would say that the 30-year as a band thing is a really good help in that sense.
Okay.
Because it gives a time perspective that's not that rushed. We've been around when first you're making a good career on selling physical products, and then it all changes into digital, and then it's the piracy and all that stuff where all the income is gone for a while. But then you say like, it's going to develop over time, and then we're at the point now where we're actually discussing in the music business, and authorities are getting involved also, that we might see some kind of change in that is streaming, because people are paying for their streaming services. It's not the audience, it's not even the record companies, it's the streaming platforms that have adopted this amazing Wall Street approach with the black box economy. There's a bunch of money going in the black box, nobody knows what's happening, but it's coming out the other end to some finance people,
right? To like three dudes. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
But now we're discussing it, and that's kind of a perspective we have. So the pandemic is definitely not being able to play the album. It's not something that's a chapter in the book at all. It's a sentence in some chapter, but it's going to be played live. It's going to be performed live. And we rehearsed so much on these songs that it's going to be pretty awesome playing them live.
When is that book coming out?
Oh yeah, around the 50th anniversary.
Okay. If you need an editor, ghostwriter, I'm happy to help.
I'll take you up on it.
Tell me about Utgard, and starting Utgard with Fires in the Dark and ending it with Distant Seasons.
Yeah. That was Fires in the Dark was the first song that was written for the album. I think it's so far the only album that we've written where the songwriting corresponds, the order of the songwriting corresponds directly with the song order on the album. So the title Fires in the Dark, that was the first thing that happened, that was made for Utgard. And that's sort of set how the song would sound. That's at the lyrics. That's the opening. It's our first time doing a that's the bell. That means object ahead of the boat.
Okay. Can't miss it.
Exactly. The amount of bell tolls tells the guy navigating on which side. Pretty old school stuff.
Yeah, it is fascinating. It's awesome. I recently got a boating license myself, so yeah, no, it's interesting.
Yeah, back to Fires, because we've been doing these. I wouldn't, people have said that it have been concept albums, which is we've been inspired by concept albums, but what we've done has been theme albums, I would say, before that, because there's no linear story in them. But Utgard had a linear story, so Fires in the Dark had to be the opening where what you're seeing on the cover as you're on the walls of what is known and ordered, and you're gazing out over this dark, vast, unknown landscape, and you're seeing these fires in the dark, and the journey continues from there. And Distant Seasons is, I would say, at the end of the journey, sort of remembering times and lives before the journey that is Utgard. It was just, and came to that point. I didn't know how many songs were going to be left, because for some reason I made myself not time songwriting anymore. I don't know if it's because it was the 15th album and a reaction to constantly thinking about album lengths and so on, and wanting to do something new or whatever. But it turned out to work very well for me. I put a little piece of tape down in in a recording software where it would say the length of the song and so on. So didn't know, but when I started writing that, I just knew, okay, this is the closing song of the album. And so yeah, it all happened very naturally.
Did you have an outline for the story that you then sort of followed for the songwriting, or I guess what was the relationship between building the story and building the songs?
Yeah, that developed as we went along, because we had as we always do, me and Jutta discussed the topics and the concepts before we started the album, and then we discussed as we went along, which elements were coming in, and it's sort of like, I guess, the same as the music. The story developed in that sense that it just like built itself, and whatever came down on the paper as lyrics sort of told us where we were in the story and what the next one would be, and so on. And as I said, also told me basically that, yeah, that's it, folks. This is going to be the closing songs.
You have announced the February-March tour, and apart from the kind of and other shows along the way, and fests and stuff like that, apart from the I'm itching to be on stage again, which certainly understandable, how do you feel about the prospect of going back to touring, of playing live, of being in a setting with a ton of people who you don't necessarily know?
I'm missing it, and I'm ready. I'm ready.
Are you nervous at all?
No, not really. Not at all. We can't override any kind of regulations anyway. So
right.
At the time when they let us, we're going to have to presume that it's safe. I'm one of those boring people who don't think vaccines are going to make us 5G controlled slaves of alien races or whatever.
I kind of wish it did. I feel like a 5G microchip would probably run my life much more efficiently than I can.
That is the point, absolutely. But yeah, we're just going to have to trust that, and yeah, then the rest of it's just going to be a party. Can't wait.
I was curious. I saw the announcement for Hellfest, the Temple stage at Hellfest, playing the Roots and Branches, this career-spanning set. And you sort of touched on this before, talking about playing 793 live as the longest enslaved track. Look out! With a career that spans 30 years and 15 albums, how do you put together a career-spanning set without inevitably leaving something out?
I was hoping you could tell me that.
Other than playing like a 4-hour set, I don't know.
It seems impossible. So what we just have to do is, again, go with intuition or whatever it is that's controlling these things, songwriting, concept, whatever. And just normally we find some kind of, it's actually normally built around the newest material, in the sense that we select a song or two from the new album, depending on the length of the set, and then that sort of dictates the selection from the older catalog, because there are all these weird connections, again, like the non-linearity of it. Like, there's not necessarily if category, for me, the songs are not necessarily categorized by time, like, okay, the Frost songs or Utgard songs. It's much more crisscrossy than that. Like, there are certain songs on Utgard that has the same kind of energy. Sometimes we also select based on concept of the songs. And then if we're doing, for instance, the krautrock song from Utgard, that would sort of be very easy to track back all the way through the catalog to which songs are accompanying that in the best possible way. makes it a little bit easier. At least that's the excuse that we've our brains have created for our selection process.
And I know you would have, excuse me, I know you would have curated Fires on the Mountain or Fire on the Mountain in Wyoming in the States last year. Have you heard anything for 2022 in that regard, maybe coming back to North America at all?
I don't have any firm information to give on that at this point. That sounded like a 5G type statement, but
it's fine. Can't confirm or deny.
Exactly. But some things, some info is coming on that in the close future.
Okay, fair enough. One more thing, and then I'll let you go. By Norse Music and Nuclear Blast, the cinematic tour is out through Nuclear Blast, right? The box set is through Nuclear Blast. What's the relationship between By Norse Music and Nuclear Blast, or is there one?
It's actually the physical release of this is By Norse.
Oh, okay, so it's just digital as Nuclear. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But both labels are doing it, are promoting it, and Nuclear Blast are also distributing, selling it, so on. I think it's the perfect sort of punctuation to the project as it goes out in the world, because it really tells. We're back to the community thing. Here we actually have one of the biggest record companies, Nuclear Blast, where we are, but that's why we signed with them. Is they are people who have the same view as us. They come from the same scene, and so we could actually approach them and say, we have this label. It's a big, it's been a big production effort to pull this off. So will you join the band, the management, and our own record company, By Norse, to make this a possibility to release? It's not going to be a profitable one, but we really want this one to come out into the world in the best possible way. And they were like, give us some time to think. And 2 seconds later, they're like, yeah, we're in. And I think that's pretty amazing. We have everybody's really, pull their weight on this to make it happen.
And I know it would be early, but have you thought about where you want to go writing wise after Utgard?
Yeah, I actually thought so much about it that I've started doing it.
Oh, yeah.
It seems impossible to stop, and especially with Utgard, which seems to be the beginning of something. So I've just gone with the flow, as the kids say, and I'm writing all the time when I'm not on a sailing ship.
Right, when you're not on the sailing ship, and I will let you get back to the sailing ship. On that note, Ivar, thank you so much. I'm gonna stop the recording. Just hang on 1 second.
Yep.
But thank you again, and congratulations again on the cinematic tour. It's gorgeous. Here, hang on.
So much.